Hello and welcome to the sixth episode of The Right Discourse. The topic of our discourse today is India-Korea Strategic and Economic Partnership. Remarkable developments can be seen between the partnership of India and Korea recently. From economic partnership, India and Korea are moving towards building stronger strategic partnership amid changing dynamics of the political economy of the world. In the wake of the trade war between USA and China, where Korean companies are suffering too, Korea is somehow forced to recognize India as its long-term and safer trade partner to reduce its trade dependency on China. India in turn recently granted visa on arrival facility to Korean people to increase the ease of Korean businesses in India. Three recent state visits by Moon and his wife separately and followed by another state visit by South Korean Foreign Minister focused on all-around aspects of partnership ranging from business and trade to finding historical and cultural ties, where President's wife said that she has visited India to find her roots, which is believed to come from the marital alliance of Queen Suri Ratna of India with a Korean prince centuries ago. Recently, India and Korea revived their bilateral trade agreement called CEPA, which is Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, which was declared almost dead when former President Park Geun-hye visited India. Both countries set a target of $50 billion to be achieved by 2030. The trade volume now is around $20 billion. But is that all? Is the situation so green and the partnership so flourishing? Did the number of Korean companies operating in India increase in the last 10 years? If yes, then what was the rate? And if no, then who is at fault? What is the situation in comparison to Japan and China? To discuss all this, we have a very special guest in our show today, Professor Lakhvinder Singh, who is very profoundly called as father of India-Korea Strategic Partnership for his pioneering role he has played in the evolution of relationship, and he is the chairman of India-Korea Business and Policy Forum in Seoul. He is also the director of Peace Program at the Asia Institute in Seoul and heads the Korean Peace Movement, which is working in the area of peace and conflict resolution in Korea. He holds two doctorates, one from the Songkyung Kwon University in Korea, which is called as SKK University, and the other in international politics from Jawaharlal Nehru University in India. He also received a senior fellowship from Harvard University in the practice of trade policy in the United States. Professor Singh is a very central figure in Korea-India relationship and was recently honored by honorary citizenship by the Seoul government. Professor Singh has got more than 20 years of experience living in Korea and is well known in business and academic circles. He has more than 200 published papers and articles to his credit. His journal, the Asia Pacific Business and Technology Report, is an important source of information about contemporary business in Korea. In 2014, he published a book entitled South Korea-India Strategic Cooperation. So let us begin our discussion with Professor Singh in our show.
Thank you for having me.
So, Professor Singh, let us begin with the first question of our discourse today. Do you think that the approach of India towards understanding the demand of the time to build a better relationship with Korea has been somewhat lacking?
Not really, but I understand your question. In 1990, when we started our India-Korea cooperation, and India relationship was only few $1 million. Today we have $20 billion. So as a whole, our approach towards Korea has worked and going in the right direction. But just sure, there's a lot of things to be covered, and we cannot say we are completely successful, but I'm more than satisfied the way things are moving towards a better India-Korea cooperation.
Okay. So that was a very straightforward answer, Professor Singh. Let us begin to the second question of our discourse. Do you also think that there are some problems from the Korean side as well when we take into account the overall synergy between India and Korea, including the strategic partnership as well as the economic partnership? Do you think that Korea's understanding towards India is also a bit lacking?
I fully understand your questions. As an Indian scholar, I can definitely say yes, there's some problem with the Korean approach. Even though India has launched East Asia policy for a long time, but Korea was lacking in its India-specific policy. Only recently, President Moon included India as a specific country in its southern policy. Before that, Korea was never mentioned as a special country to promote relationship. So India was just a regular country, one of the few South Asian countries towards which Korea was looking for business ties. So Korea was never have a specific India-specific policy. That was one of the main reasons why we could not develop a relationship with Korea. So something was seriously lacking. Number two, I think what is lacking is that Korean people's understanding of India. Sometimes, when you are going through Korean people, you understand Korean people ask very strange questions. Sometimes they ask, do India have cars? Sometimes they ask, do India have winters? So Korean expertise, Korea's understanding of India is very, very thinly.
It's quite weak, you believe?
Quite weak, yes. I think to properly make India to properly understood by Korean people, we need a specific programs. So far, Korea don't have any India-specific studies in any university in Korea. Of course, we teach in one or two Indian languages in one or two universities, but that's not enough. If you look at Japan as well as China, they have many India study departments.
True.
But in Korea, there's not a single university has a India-centered department. So with a $20 billion trade, how can not a single university? So I would like to take this opportunity to point that if Korea really want to have a strong cooperation with India, they should increase their understanding. And India-centered experts are agile leaders. And without them, Korea cannot. They can make as much policy, they can make as much dramatic announcement, they will not go where. So if Korea really want to have a strong cooperation with India, they have to increase their understanding of India.
So this is a clear-cut indication that you are indicating a policy initiative for Korea, and you are saying that Korea must have more, academic programs in their universities where they can teach more about India, to understand more about Indian culture, society, business, etc.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what needed. Sometimes you feel, and secondly, so far, most of the experts which have come to Korea were not able to get enough encouragement from Korean government side. Of course, I was one of the lucky guy who got some kind of support from Korean government, but most of the experts, after completing their university degrees, went back. And they're teaching in Netherlands, Australia. They got their PhD from Korea, but they're teaching somewhere
else. Not true.
So this is kind of best, when you spend a major part of your youth in Korea, and then you start teaching some other thing, it's a kind of loss for all of us. So Korea has to take care of its resources. They spend a lot of scholarship, then there's no job, nothing to go. How can we expect $50 million, $100 million trade? So we have to be, very specific.
For a partnership, for business, understanding is very important. So here, I think Korea needs to work. So Professor Singh, there is also, we find that Korea is lacking behind China and Japan in terms of trade partnership with India. So what do you think is the probable reason behind it?
Very true. Today we have, not long ago, Korea has bigger trade with India than Japan. Korea used to have a $60 billion trade, and Japan was just $10 billion trade. But now, unfortunately, Japan is targeting around $50 billion trade, and we just have a $20 billion trade. So in the next last 5 years, Japan has surpassed Korea. So something is lacking. So there are many reasons for this problem. But I think why India-Korea economic ties are not growing as they should is the narrow scope of the cooperation. So far, Korean companies have focused on very few narrow products. So far, we are focusing on automobiles, electronics, and textile. That's not enough to make the trade to $50 billion. So if we really want to make our business as big as Japan or China, we have to include more products. And to increase our area of scope, like shipbuilding, education, services, everything possible, agriculture. We have to broaden our area of exports, and broaden our area of action. If we really want to follow Japan, Japan is taking a lot of initiatives. Indians are getting a lot of encouragement in Japan, but not so in Korea. So we can make as much announcement as we want, but on the ground, until we don't fix the problem, this relationship has some problems.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you think that Korea has that much of capacity to come at par Japan in terms of trade volume or China?
Why not? I think Korea has much more potential than Japan. When I came to Korea 20 years ago, I could see the potential. And from day one, I'm exploring that this is the country because we have so many economic complementaries. Both of us are developing countries. Japan is a developed country. So we can develop in many areas of cooperation. So potential of cooperation is limitless. Sky is the limit. But somehow we have missed the train. So Korea is a country where we can have a most innovative program in whole of East Asia. So Korea could be the hub of our action. So potential of cooperation, if you see my article 5 years ago in my own journal, I predicted that Korea-India cooperation can go to $100 billion in few years.
Okay.
So I was talking not $15 billion, I was talking about $100 billion. It is on record.
A very futuristic approach.
Now, it is on record that we can go to $100 billion, but unfortunately we are stuck at $20 billion. So potential of cooperation is much because both of us are developing economies and we are complementary economies. So I see potential of cooperation limitless. So Japan is nothing, $50 billion trade. No, we can go up to $100 billion trade if we take proper measures. And Koreans have to do much. So far, Indians have talking about cooperation, but Koreans are lacking. But Koreans have to come forward. So it has to be double, both ways, Indians just can't keep talking about trade and cooperation, but if Koreans do not properly respond. Yes.
Okay, so Professor Singh, apart from the economic ties, when we talk about strategic partnership, do you think that India can play a role in maintaining or talking about peace on Korean Peninsula? And do you think that India is so significant?
Of course, India is a major player in East Asia and a major player in Asia. So India definitely have a stake in peace building on Korean Peninsula. As you know, last few years, Korea was very near close to war. And if there's a war on Korean Peninsula, it could affect everywhere. Korean companies are employing 1,000 people all over Asia. And if there's a war on Korean Peninsula, it will spread out to all over Asia. And it will not have a serious economic implication, but serious strategic and security implications. So I strongly believe that India should have a serious stake in peace building on Korean Peninsula.
Professor Singh, let us come back again to the economic talks. How do you think that India can take an advantage of trade war which is going on in between USA and China? Do you think that India can take an advantage to build a stronger relationship with Korea?
Yes, very good question, a very good question. I think currently trade is being used as a tool to influence the foreign policy of both nations. So this ongoing trade war has a serious economic and strategic implications. So India can take advantage of this trade war to have a bigger stake in East Asia. So ongoing trade war should be looked at from a bigger perspective. It should not be just about trade. It's no more about trade only. It has bigger implications. As you know, it looks from President Trump's policy on trade that it will be becoming more and more difficult for Korean companies to produce in China. Because earlier when they were producing in China, they were selling all over the world. But with President Trump raising a high stake in the trade war, so it will be very difficult for Korean companies to sell in Asia, even abroad. So I think we can see opportunity here. Korean, a lot of Taiwanese companies are moving out of China. It's a matter of time. A lot of Korean companies will be forced to move out of Korea, out of China. So I think it's a time when we should offer special opportunities to Korean companies to find a new ventures in India. So I think there's a positive spin to outgoing trade war between China and India, and India has a lot of gain. It will give us a lot of opportunity to strengthen our stake, and it will also give a very good spin to our strategic and peace building ambitions in Korea.
Yeah. So, Professor Singh, a related question to this, I would like to ask you that do you think that India is actually moving in that direction to build that stronger partnership? We will probably talk regarding this in our other shows, specifically on what India is doing and what should be the policy initiatives of India regarding this. But just in a couple of sentences, if you would like to explain that, is India actually moving in that direction to take the advantage of this US-China trade war?
Yes, I think so. Though I think things are moving very fast because last year, in the end of the last year, we quickly solved our SIPA problems, and we was able to narrow down our differences. And even though it was not fully satisfied, and we were expecting much more bigger cooperation, but still early harvest agreement was signed.
But yet India is yet trying, right?
Yeah, so we are
It's moving in
seriously,
that direction.
we are seriously trying. We are seriously trying to move into that direction and take advantage. And now you understand that Koreans are also understanding the important significance of India. So President Moon's southern policy has not come out of nothing. It's a realization of Korea that India is a major player in East Asia and could be a bigger factor in economic restructuring of the world,
That's
especially
true.
Asia.
Yeah.
So I think this is a good opportunity for us. I'm very happy and satisfied with President Modi's, our Prime Minister Modi's approach towards Korea, and I think Korea is responding
Yeah.
to our policy initiatives. Even though I'm not happy with the state of speed, but traction is more than satisfactory. So traction is perfect, and speed could be enhanced.
Okay.
We are too slow. We are too slow, but we are going to right direction. So we should increase. I want SIPA to be settled this year. I don't want to take too long.
Yeah. So in 2019, if
Yeah.
SIPA is settled, we can have a better
Yes.
economic
So
cooperation.
I'm trying to tell to all of my colleagues, let's settle SIPA this time.
That's true.
Let's SIPA. There are no major issues has been already settled. Whatever issues are left now, it can be narrowed down.
Yes.
And look at the bigger picture, because we cannot consume our energy just on economic issues, because it's time when we start looking at major strategic issues, military issues. You know, after all, balance of power in Asia is shifting. And we simply cannot ignore that major power shift is happening. China is expanding its influence in Asia. If you consume too much energy on economic issues and too much energy on economic cooperation, this is not good for us. So sooner we solve this economic SIPA issues, the better we will be in position to focus on bigger issues.
That's
Because
very good point.
ultimately everything comes together. By the end of the day, everything matters. So we have to focus on bigger issues also. Balance of power, role of Chinese Navy in East Asia, defense cooperation between two countries, and cultural cooperation between two countries. It has to be properly. So many things are left. Because these economic issues are occupying too much energy, all other issues have been completely
Neglected or overlooked.
completely slowed down.
Yeah,
I will not say neglected, but there's some progress there.
Yeah.
But I want more attention.
Mhm.
I want more attention to those issues. So I'm trying to tell my colleagues in the government and in the institutes, let's get this done. Let's get this done this year, and let's focus on bigger picture. So as long as I have the ability to influence the debate, I'm doing my best to settle the SIPA issues and economic issues this year and focus on the bigger picture.
That's a very good point, Professor Singh. Now let us move to another question, which is very important question of this show. South Korea recently awarded Prime Minister Modi with Seoul Peace Prize. How do you think this can affect the relationship between Korea and India?
I think, Prime Minister Modi is being selected as a recipient of Seoul Peace Prize is a big opportunity for India. I think the great work he's doing in Asia is being noticed. I think it will have bigger implication in the cooperation between our two countries. I think we should take this opportunity to enhance our understanding of the Korean peace-related issues. So far, Korea, we have not made a specific effort. Apart from our nuclear agreement, nuclear war, we have not given any important attention to this region. But nuclear issue is not the only issue in this part of the world.
That's true.
So peace in Asia is bigger, much bigger than nuclear program. But so far, we have focused on only nuclear issue. So Prime Minister Modi is being selected as a recipient of Peace Prize will give us opportunity to understand the peace and conflict issues not only in Korea but whole Asia, whole of East Asia. So this opportunity is very good for us. I think when Seoul Peace Foundation selected Modi as a recipient, they have a very specific reason. Why? Because they think it's Modi can bring India to the not only Korean Peninsula but East Asia. So this is very, very positive development. Now, question is that how much we are able to use it. So if the Prime Minister Modi just come here and receive the award and we are not able to understand the thinking behind bigger picture, then we will miss the opportunity. So this opportunity provided to us, this award is very big and it should be properly understood. Need of ours is that we should come into the picture. Koreans are giving us indication that India has a serious stakes in peace building in Korea. And if we don't fail to read between the lines, it will be the missed opportunity. So, but given the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, I think we will be able to make a better initiative during his visit.
That's a very good point, Professor Singh. So, I would also like to ask you regarding some specific points you could suggest us, which could strengthen the economic partnership between India and Korea.
Okay. As far as economic partnership is concerned, as I told you, the bigger issue is that first I would like to emphasize SIPA should be settled as soon as possible.
Okay.
Number two, the scope of our cooperation should be wider. These 3-4 areas is too narrow.
Yes.
Number third, most of India, Korea should take India-specific measures. Currently, trade deficit is too high. Services industry, India is expert on a service industry, but Indians are not able to provide any service
In Korea.
So most of the people who come to Korea go back after getting the education. So that's not good. I personally suggest that if Korea really want India to play a bigger role in Korean economy,
So,
Korea has to create some space for Indian professionals. You know, a lot of Indian students, a lot of Indian experts come to Korea to study. But after they complete their education, they are unable to get proper job. So they end up working in the restaurants, teaching English, teaching, minimum level. They're experts. They are graduated from top universities. They are not designed to work in the restaurants, work in teaching English. So Korea should create specific opportunity for Indian professionals. Until Korea is able to tap into this talent, Indian talent, relationship between two countries India has a huge young market.
that's true. I also personally feel, Professor Singh, that the service sector also, India has a lots of things to give to Korea in service sector as well, which is completely untouched at present. It may be because of the language issue or something else, but yeah, we'll talk about those things later. Now, the most important question of my show here is, Professor Singh, that what specific policy initiatives do you suggest for India to have a better position in Korea in terms of peace building in the Korean Peninsula? So this I would request you to go a bit specifically, and because we talked a lot about the bigger picture, so now just specific policy initiatives from someone like you.
Thank you very much. Definitely for some time I have been thinking about this question very seriously. So recently I came out with the 4 basic principles on which we should build our new Korea specific peace policy. So I call it 4 principles of peace.
Okay.
So far, India has failed to take a specific peace building initiative in Korea. So I call it the time has come when we should take active role in peace building on Korean Peninsula.
So you will say about 4 policies of peace.
Yes, 4 principles of peace.
4 principles of peace to my viewers as well. So yes, Professor Singh.
Okay, so my 4 principles of peace on Korean Peninsula are: 1, as no option on Korean Peninsula. Number 2, peaceful settlement of disputes on Korean Peninsula. Number 3, United Korea only for Korean people. Number 3, United Korea is good for India, Asia, and the world. So these are 4 principles which I would like to emphasize on India's foreign policy, on India's new initiative, on which we should build our new policy. Number 1, when I say war as a no option, so far we have taken stand that peaceful settlement of dispute. We have not come out specifically that war on Korean Peninsula can destroy everything. So nuclear crisis on Korean Peninsula should be registered at every possible scale. And we should be declared that no matter what, any party, North Korea, South Korea, USA, any party who talk about use of force should be excluded from our foreign policy. So we have to take a tough stand, because we have seen North Korea often talking about use of force. And still we have a relationship with them. South USA often talk about use of force, and still we have a relationship with them. We have to take a stand as a peaceful country, that any country who threatens peace on Korean Peninsula is not our friend. So we have to take a strict stand against war as an option, as a tool, as an instrumental tool on Korean Peninsula. We have to take a very clear approach. War is just not an option. You simply cannot threaten use of force, because whenever we talk about force, 4 countries terrorized. country of $40 billion, 40 million people, 50 million people is a terrorist. And it can have a serious economic implication for all over the world. So if you want to have a stake in Korea, we have to clearly emphasize that you just can't talk about use of force. Secondly, I would like to say, today, this year, we are celebrating Gandhiji 150th anniversary. And Gandhiji has given us a very good principle of settlement of dispute. So Gandhi's approach of peaceful settlement of dispute in international politics is still relevant in Korean Peninsula. So far, we have not tested anywhere. I think Korea is a very good experiment. Korea is very ground where we can test Gandhi's idea. Whether how we can solve conflict in peaceful settlement. How we can bring two warring countries into peacefully. So Gandhian approach of international politics should be emphasized, and that will be a good tribute to Gandhiji. We are celebrating, we are organizing seminars, conferences. No, it's time today that we should test Gandhi's approach towards peaceful settlement on the world scale. We should prove to the whole world that Gandhi's idea of building peace, of peaceful settlement of disputes is still relevant. That will be Gandhi's new true tribute. So now, whatever we are doing, organizing seminars, publishing books, no. Because more and more people saying, young people are saying Gandhi is not relevant. But Korea offers a space. Korea offers us a place where we can test and tell the whole world that Gandhi's approach of international politics is still relevant. So now I'm suggesting that when Modiji comes, he should declare that only option for both countries to come out of the crisis is Gandhi approach of peaceful settlement.
Experimenting Gandhi in Korea.
Yeah, implementing, not experimenting. Experiment is a long time ago.
Okay.
Now implementing Gandhi.
Yeah.
Implementing Gandhiji. Implementing Gandhiji, you know?
Yes, he has already been experimented.
Now,
Yeah.
third principle of peace, United Korea for Korean people. Now, what is happening? Almost everybody is trying to interfere into Korean Peninsula. So, six-party talks. What are these six-party talks? They have failed to work. You know why? Because there are too many ideas, too many approaches. But what Korean people want has completely ignored. So, if we want really peace on Korean Peninsula, we should follow the principle that Korea for Korean people. All country should give only helping hand. Let Korean people settle their disputes. So India should, instead of six-party talks, I strongly advocate India should focus on two-party talks. Because most of the issues are between two countries. As long as they can talk to each other, they can solve the disputes, we will be a much better place. So six-party talks have failed to work. Let's try two-party talks. And India should properly. So I have got to the extent in my paper that India should become a venue for two-party talks. So why they have to go to everywhere? We should come to New Delhi because we have very good relationship with North Korea. With South Korea also. So New Delhi should be a place where South Korea and North Korea talk to each other and solve their disputes. We are a non-aligned country, both of us trust each other. Why not New Delhi could be a venue of two-party talks? So far, India has not been considered as option. So I'm proposing whenever Prime Minister Modi comes, I strongly suggest him that he should emphasize India as a venue for two-party talks, as a place for peace. That will be Gandhi to tribute to Gandhi's story of peace.
That's very good. That will also put India at a very important place in Korea, at a very important position.
Yeah. That will also say that because ultimately, we are Gandhi. We are ultimately who we are. We gave birth to Mahatma Buddha. Korea, India is a Buddha-ji respected and worshipped in Korea. And we gave birth to Gandhiji. And Gandhiji is worshipped all over the world. And again, we have given such a great peaceful thinkers. But we have failed to implement our ideas. Now, India is becoming a great power again. So, we often talk about India as a Vishwa Guru. What will be our main principle? Our main strength is spiritual power. Spiritual power comes from Mahatma Buddha. Mahatma Buddha, Gandhiji, Jain, these are real assets. And we cannot become a Vishwa Guru on the basis of our economic might. That is okay, but our real strength is our spiritual power, our theory of peace.
Theory of peace, that's true, yeah.
Now our conviction that Satyam Jayate means people, we have to have no place to go. We have to come back to our roots. Our roots are peace. We are still known for peace. We have never attacked any country. At today's time, Prime Minister Modi winning Peace Prize emphasized that we are a country of peace. And that Modi ji when comes here, he should say this. And fourth, finally, many people have this kind of a misconception whether United Korea is good for India or not. Whether United Korea will be a Chinese colony or a American colony or Japanese colony, or is whether particularly strategic implication will be of United Korea. So a lot of people are being written. But I have come to the conclusion, and I want to say, Prime Minister Modi should say, United Korea is good for everyone. Nobody. Japanese don't need to fear, Chinese don't need to fear, India don't need, America don't need to fear. United Korea is good for, is a sign of good for everyone. So it's good for economy, good for peace, good for cultural cooperation. So United Korea should be seen as positive development by everybody. And India should lead the way in convincing Japan, in convincing China, in convincing USA that don't fear the unification. It's good. Korea is designed to be one. So India should lead the way in creating a new environment, a new approach, in which we said United Korea is good for everyone. It will be positive development in international politics. So these four principles of peace, if we adopt these four principles of peace, it could not only enhance peace on Korean Peninsula, but also strengthen India's standing in the international politics. So it's time when Modi ji comes to Korea for a CB's Peace Prize, he should make a major initiative of re-emphasizing what India wants. So we need for the first time Mr. Moon have a India-specific sovereign policy. Now we should have a Korea-specific peace policy.
That's a very good point. That's a very specific and clear point. So thank you very much, Professor Singh, for coming to our show.
Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed talking to you. I really feel we can make a important use of your show and make a serious intervention in the ongoing debate. We need young people like you who talk about real issues, lot of stuff is going on in the media which are avoiding these issues. So it's time when we start talking about it. So I feel we can use the opportunity created by you to strengthen the cooperation between our two countries.
Thank you very much, Professor Singh. That was a big boost to me and a big appreciation for me and a boost to my show. Thank you very much for coming to our show. And this show was full of perspective, and it was a result of years of analysis of Professor Singh regarding the India-Korea strategic and economic partnership. And we will, I'm planning to have a series of shows with Professor Singh. If he agrees to come in our show next time, we'll be, of course, talking many things about India and Korea relationship and make a series on it. So stay connected to The Right Discourse. I was your host, Kisle Kumar. Thank you very much for watching our show.